So this is Lekoko, Uncapped with Lekoko, and I believe this is the protege. We're going to talk to him a little bit later, just understand who is beautiful baby, what is baby doing, why does baby love soccer as well. But maybe, Kako, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello everyone,
How are you?
I am fine.
Oh man, isn't he just so adorable? Now, I'll tell you what, before we get into the interview, don't forget to hit the like button, of course, as well as the subscribe button, and of course, hit the notification button so you can keep up to date on all of our interviews. So, Lekoko, you are known on the streets as Lekoko Uncapped with Lekoko. Where is Lekoko from?
Lekoko is from Mums,
Okay.
born and bred. Yeah, man, the capital township, and yeah, that's like I said, that's where I was bred. That's where I was born and bred, and I think most of my values I carry them. They resemble those of the people that are from there. Humble beginning, humble place, and yeah, like I said, I always carry the humility with me, you know. That's where I'm from, and I'll always be grateful for the teachings that I've had in Pretoria, Mamelodi to be precise. Yeah.
Pretoria, stand up. We're representing you today in the interview. Now, your name is Koketso, but you called Uncapped with Lekoko. How did you get the name Lekoko?
Lekoko, the funniest thing ever. Initially I was given the name by a friend, and I didn't want anything to do with Lekoko
Sure.
for the longest of time, and up until a point, but fast forward years later, and I told that guy I don't like the name. Fast forward years later, I now find myself in a position where I can host a space. And hosting the space that talks about football issues and football chats and you know, getting to know, represent what people want, the fans.
Sure.
And yeah, so now you have this Lekoko. It's a Setswana word for a crew, because now I carry the crew with me. And by crew, I mean you, I mean him, I mean all of us, you know, everybody, because most of the topics most of them, they come from my people. So I said, okay, cool. That Lekoko and the Lekoko that I was given before and Lekoko that I'm using now, they were different, but in a way they ended up merging. Because one was my nickname from Koketso, and the other one meant the crew. And ironically, they just ended up blending in and becoming one. And yeah, so we're here.
Now, you guys are Uncapped with Lekoko on Twitter. You have 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's a big achievement.
Thank you very much. I'll celebrate it. I've been accused of not celebrating.
Sure, you need to celebrate your successes.
Yes, as minimal as they are. So high five, Gazi, for the 10K follow.
Yes.
Yeah, we are within.
We are within.
So yeah,
I love it.
so thank you to the people for following me, and thank you for the love that I've received. And I'll never take it for granted, man.
Sure.
I'm one of the people that I always say. You know, that's one thing that I need to re-emphasize all the time, and maybe might pick up throughout the chat. So yeah.
Now, Uncapped with Lekoko is every Tuesday from 8 to 9:30 on Twitter. Let's talk about the Twitter spaces. How did you guys come about creating these spaces where you bring people together to talk about the game?
And this guy for sure, he'll tell you, like, because these spaces, they kind of took away our bath time. Ne?
Yes.
So
you forgive Daddy, ne?
So yeah, so it was Thursdays and it was Tuesdays and Thursdays initially. And how the spaces came about was, I didn't even know that I was moving into spaces.
Sure.
So how the spaces came about was that, look, Rulani had a chat on the timeline. He just said, look, I want to have a topic about that. He's talking to Pro at the time, you know. I'm not even involved. Rulani has a chat about that, and as he's having this chat, Pro's like, look, there's a new feature on Twitter, and we don't have to be discussing all of these things. And then you know, so we move on to that, and then he then says to us, look, we have to have this chat. Let's have this chat and move on. So they introduce the space. Pro calls me, he's like, host this space. Let's move on to the space, and then we get in there, and that was that. We have this chat. After having this chat, that was the birth of the space. I was sick at the time, finding out hosting the space. I was sick at the time. When they called me back, I was like, you know what, I'll host it. My face was swollen. You remember? Remember how swollen my face was that day? My face was swollen. I was sleeping. I think I had a doctor's visit at the time. But I was like, I'll host the space and I'll wing it. And I did it. And I was winging it, and we were there. And you know, that was the birth of Lekoko space, but not formally. Then it transformed. It moved on afterwards.
So let's pick it up from, you have the interview, Rolani Pro, they say let's have a conversation. How did it become formal?
So now, the Rolani space happened. It crashes even. That was the funniest thing.
Sure.
It crashes, fine, we move on, we're done. But people liked the way the conversation was flowing, right?
Okay.
So now, Pro talks with Robert on the time. I'm like, look,
Robert being Robert Merawa.
Oh, yeah, you are. Yes.
Okay.
Three first name basis now.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, so Pro talks with Robert Merawa and says, look, we'd like to have you because you seem to be available, and there was that whole squabble at the time with SAB and SABC. Sorry,
okay.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, SABC, and then he said, no, cool, I'll do it. I think that was the 27th of May. I remember that time.
2020.
2021.
Okay.
So this is when you're quite new. I was with JS Antidiski at the time. Shout out Antidiski. And then we went there, got there. After getting there, we had the chat. After having this chat, then we
have mics.
Yeah, we had I didn't have mics at the time. So I interviewed Rob. Rob gets in. We set a date for Friday, 8 o'clock. It happened. People joined. I kid you not. That was the first time ever in my life I saw 500 people joining a space.
A lot, right, Gaho?
And that was a lot. Like, it was like, yo, because I always had like 15 and 100
Sure,
and that was a lot. And it then moved on to, people joining in there, asking him questions. At the time now, we're just having this conversation and it's flowing. And then once we're done, then we're cool with that. That was the space. That's how Lekoko then became formal, because within that space, what Rob did was have Mukhashwa joining the space. I think he wanted Mukhashwa to speak. And then after Mukhashwa speaking, then Mukhashwa said he'll be available as the next guest. All I know is that, okay, cool, now there's a huge demand of people wanting to jump in. But I didn't even know it was formal. That's why I'm even shocked that today Lekoko was formal. I still don't see it as a formal.
So let's talk about you guys now. You are a team. Who is the team behind Lekoko space? Because I know it's a lot of people pushing you guys, pushing the agenda.
Who's part of the team? He's the number one guy. I source most of our inspiration from him. This guy is smart, man. Like if I could be as smart as this guy, I'd be crazy,
Gaho, how old are you? 6. And I saw that you're on Instagram and you have things that you were saying on Instagram. What are you doing on Instagram?
What are you doing on Instagram? For sure, he doesn't even know that he's doing things on Instagram, eh? So yeah, you're talking about coaches and stuff, and the best league in the world. What's the best league in the world?
PSL. You heard it.
Yeah.
And Gaho, do you like soccer? Who's your favorite player?
PSL.
In the PSL. Who's your favorite player in the PSL?
Who's your favorite player? Tell him.
Wow, Tembazwane. Shout out to Sundowns.
So
it's a Mamelodi thing, right?
Yeah. But this guy's a Joburg guy. He was born in Joburg. But yeah, shout out. And yeah, so that's how it became formal. To go back to the question, that's how it became formal, and that's how it became structured, and that's how we're moving, and we're having fun times with it. But I still don't see it as a formal structure. I just see it as a platform for fans to engage and have chats, and that's why this guy will confidently say he's the biggest team member, because most of the things I get to bounce it off him, and we get to have chats. And he loves
so you and your 6-year-old son are like forming a tag team there?
Not really. I'm forming a tag team.
When you're not wrestling him.
Yeah. So yeah, we having a chat about that. So yeah, that's how it is.
Sure. Now, you guys are not formal. You are having conversations.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't do formal. I don't like formal.
It's just relaxed.
Yeah. Formal is pretentious, man.
Yeah, I love how this interview, it's unscripted, we are just flowing, because that's what we do. But let's talk about the interviews. I mean, people think that you just hook up an interview, get somebody on, and then you start talking. Let's talk about the preparation process. How do you prepare for a space? Research. Because you can't give people subpar content. You
can't give people mediocre questions, and you have to, like, for example, I had a space about talking about medicine in football, and talking about players taking their test, and the hemis, injuries, and groins and all that stuff, and people being hurt, and so you can't do all those things if you're not I'm not a doctor, I don't know those things, but I have to research, I have to respect the fact that the people that are coming to the space are doctors, and I can't just ask them random question or wing it, because people can feel it that you're winging it.
How long would it take you to prepare for a space, though?
To prepare for a space, it varies. I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I feel that, because I have a space now that's scheduled for mid-March, but mid-March, I mean, I'm doing research for it now, and I could have a space that would be scheduled for next week, and probably maybe I haven't done research on it. I think it just feels me feeling comfortable around the chat. So it has to be that I have to feel comfortable around the chat and knowledgeable enough to host this thing, because some of the topics I'm comfortable with, so like tactics and stuff like that, yes, I'd be comfortable with that, but the intricate details of coaching and all that stuff, then I would need to have a proper chat with the coach. So I'm gonna take a wild guess and say an average 2 weeks for me to do research for a space, but yeah, it could take more. There's a space that's coming now in mid March. I've had the appointment set up for the 1st of Feb. Yeah. So it kind of shows you the length of how it is that some spaces that because I feel that I don't feel comfortable enough to talk about it yet. So I'm not gonna rush it. That's why I always try and keep it as organic as possible. My spaces need to be organic. It shouldn't be forced. It's not about me. It's about getting answers at the end of the day.
And about the people that you bring into the space as well.
Yeah, it's about the people that I bring to the space as well. What do you think, Joe? It's about the people, right? Yeah, it's about the people.
Now, let's talk about you interviewing Robert Merawa. I mean, didn't that open up doors for you guys? Didn't that also bring people to say, okay, if Robert's been there, then I can also attach my name to Uncapped with Lekoko? What was the reception like?
At the time, I wasn't aware. Like, when you're being oblivious to the fact that you're interviewing Robert Merawa.
Sure.
And you're like, okay, it's just another football chat, and you're gonna have another football chat, and that's that. And cool. And yeah, I'd never thought of it opening doors, but with the benefit of hindsight, I think it did, because if it wasn't for Robert, we wouldn't have a second interview, which was David, and we got him there. If it wasn't for David, we wouldn't have another interview, which was David there. If it wasn't for that, so now you have this domino effect, and now only when the penny dropped that wait, maybe, like, why now are we getting people that are asking us to be in the space? What could be the reason behind that, And you only realize that, okay, maybe that's the reason Robert being in the show is the reason why it happened, I mean, he was part of our space, and now everybody wants to be part of our space. So yeah, with the benefit of hindsight, I think I can confidently say yes, it opened. Yes, whether I admit it or not, that's another thing, but it did.
It did. And from one it led to another and another, and now every Tuesday you turn in Twitter a storm, 8 till 9:30 with the space interview.
I'm not sure about the storm, but yeah. And I think just going back to the Robert before I carry on that, I think I give my guests the same amount of respect.
Sure.
Like if I was hosting this guy, and he came to speak about his platform, and I was hosting you, you came to speak about your platform, I would give the same amount of respect, and would be clear and would be good to go about that. So I don't know. I see people as people, and I always see them as people. So that's how it is.
And I'm glad that you don't choose to say this person will be having a bigger status because they're Robert Merawa or this one. I love how everyone, you give them a platform on the spaces.
Yeah, I've never believed in celebrities. That's why I never believe that I'll ever be a celebrity one day. I don't think there's such. I just think that these are people that are doing what they love. They just happen to be in the public platform. There are people that have more impact than them in our lives. We just never celebrate them. So everybody's equal for me. I never that's why I would never find myself in a way where I get starstruck.
Yeah.
Or I was like, yeah, cool. I acknowledge. I'm not gonna lie. I'm interviewing the great people in the industries, captains of the industries, and I've never taken that for granted. And I'll give them the respect because they are professionals and they take their time. But I'll never ever feel that somebody's more important than me. Or irrespective of gender or all the other stuff. So that's just that.
Happy with that. Love that. High five to you, man. Cool. Kudos to you. So, who's been your most memorable interview, if you have?
I actually have, and like I say, I'm always one of the people. My most memorable interview would be the interviews that I've had to interview the fans. And I remember I had a space about footy Twitter content creators. It was just about that, and we had a chat about that. And that was such a refreshing memory because I'm interviewing people that are doing what I'm doing essentially. So they're in their space and they're doing what they're doing and they're having fun doing what they're doing. And now I get to learn so much because I ask questions that I would want to ask and be relevant about it. And then, so I had a panel of 11 footy Twitter content creators, people that create content, that are fans who took the initiative to say, look, I'm going to create this content and I'm going to make this content great. And that was that.
Love it. Who would you love to interview next? I know that you have a lot of spaces coming along, but who are you eyeing to say, if I could get this person on the space for this kind of content, do you have someone in mind?
No, I don't have somebody in mind and I'll say that because I'm not a person orientated type of content creator. I'm a topic content creator. So my topic will then guide me. Like for example, this past Tuesday I was interviewing the BBK.
I saw that.
Joe Cran and then Ashley. And to me, I gave them the same level of respect because so at the time somebody would be but you're interviewing BBK. Why don't you just this guy's huge, and I was like, BBK is a journalist just like these other two guys, and I'm talking about a topic where these other two guys also form part of it, and with that said, we got to have a proper discussion about that, about the space journalism, and that was that, and we were cool about it. So
now I have to ask you.
By the way, while I was having the space, this guy, he was being as naughty as he is now and didn't want to sit with me. So but shout out to him, man. This guy is like he's my support structure. I really appreciate you, man. You know that, guys.
Nothing like fatherly love. I mean, this is absolutely beautiful just to watch. You and your son, and I know you got your son involved in soccer. Let's talk about what has really got him involved. How did you pick up that he's interested in the game? He loves soccer as well.
How did I pick up? That was very odd. Like I never realized the amount of influence that I have on him until when he was about 3 or so. Because this is a funny story. He learned letters using teams. Like we would say L is for which team? Say it.
Which team?
Don't be shy. The one that Mo Salah plays for.
Yeah. Yes,
cool.
Liverpool.
So we'd say that. So we started with say L is for Liverpool, S is for Tembazani. Yeah. K is for Sekota. Kahoe plays for which team?
Chiefs.
The full name.
What's the full name of Chiefs?
Kai. Kaiser what? You must say the full name. Kaiser Chiefs. Kaiser Chiefs. So that's how I picked up. But now it really dwelled on me that this guy is genuinely interested. When I would not be at home and I'd come back home and he'd be like, "Hey, did you see Baraka was playing against Parts?" And I was like, Even I sometimes would think twice about watching that game and he'd tell me the score, and So that's when I saw. I was like, okay, cool. Maybe there's interest in that, but I'm not gonna influence. I don't wanna force it. Yes, influence is good. Influence. You're not forcing somebody to do something. You're just giving them showing them how you love something and allowing them to be themselves. So yeah, if he wants to carry on with football, carry on with football, because I think that's the one thing I missed. I followed safety instead of passion. I'm very passionate about the PSL, I'm not gonna lie. I love the PSL. It's the best league in the world.
Sure.
I believe. I don't care what anybody else says. I've convinced myself that it's the best league in the world, and I look at positives. So yeah, that's how I picked up about this guy.
Sure. Now you're saying that you love the PSL. When I look at your tweets and social media, you're so knowledgeable about teams, the games, players. I'd regard you as a soccer fanatic.
Soccer fanatic. I'm not, yeah, maybe you can call me that, because it's just that it's a noun. I don't know. Maybe as a student of the game, I always regard myself as a student of the game, because I never miss out on any opportunity to learn. There's so much to learn. Like for example, I'm starting to learn that the PSL doesn't want us back at the stadium. So I'm learning that. So that's why I'm saying every day is an opportunity for us to learn, and I will always be willing to learn, and I always welcome the notion of being wrong in any discussion. And like if you go into any discussion being a knowledgeable guy, what exactly are you going to learn? There's nothing you're going to learn. So I'll be having a discussion, and I know that in our discussion I'm 99% right, but I'm going to be focusing on that 1%. Sure. That you bring in, because you would have taught me something new, and I'll take that and make me a better person, and I'll be able to talk about the league, and we'll be moving on and so on and stuff like that.
Let's talk South African Soccer League. What do you think we can do better as a league? I mean, you're saying it's the best in the world.
Yeah. The PSL, man, is the PSL has talent, right? There's talent again. You like Keegan Dolly. You like Mshishi, right? I think from an administrative point of view, I think the PSL lacks from an administrative point of view, and it's because of our country. Our country is not one of the most honest countries, so people don't want to tell the truth. People rather keep information. So the league is like that. It's just a reflection of our country. So administratively, I think if we're more honest and more transparent, and people admit that we don't know some of the things, it's okay not to know some of the things. You don't want to know everything. You don't have to know everything. That means that we don't know, and if we don't know, when you don't know, you switch on, and when you switch on, you're going to outsource, and when you outsource, you're going to learn new skill, and when you learn new skill, you're going to implement the skill, and the skill is going to make the league better, and you have this domino effect that's going to make this league huge. That's from an administrative point of view. Those are two things that are. The second thing is from a tactical point of view. I feel that we've shunned away from our. Come here, Wanasa. I feel that we've shunned away from the way we play football. And the way we play football, what we've done is we've adopted the European style, and with us adopting the European style, we then destroyed everything.
So like showboating.
Yeah, it's not necessarily showboating, but skills. Like now, how often do you see a skill in the PSL? Because now it's seen as showboating. So, for example, a guy in Europe, before the rule changed, can go to the corner flag and just hog the corner flag to waste time. But I can't have Squama, Ashabanta by 4, wasting time, the same time that the guy from Europe is wasting time on. So, do you see, there's a bit of bias against them. So you need to have those things, and your identity, man. Like, don't shun away from your identity. If anything, take your identity and try and make it better, and let it work for you. Because I was asking today, I was like, what's the average height of a South African player? I mean, we're not tall here. We're not that tall compared to the rest of the players. So you'll find that an average height would be 1.6 something. And I mean, Pesitao, right? Spelling Kolise, Tulani Serrero. And you look at these players, and I'm just mentioning those three. For example, I could name a lot. Bomad, and then short guys. So that what that tells you that we can never play route one, we can never play crosses. But because the coaching manual says that, the European coaching manual says that when you get there, you have to hold it in the box, and then we're not going to do it. And what it then does, it stifles these guys from the skills that they have. Because I mentioned all of these guys. Check, for example, Utulani Serrero is a central midfielder. Sometimes he doubles as a central defensive midfielder. but as a central midfielder, he's as skillful as he is, and it says a lot. He's not your Ngolo Kante that just a workhorse that runs. He can take you on at any given moment. So that should tell you that actually that's our identity.
And he's actually really good at it.
Yes, like we're not just be great. Nobody can do it better than us. And I was telling somebody, they were saying our identity, our football identity. Am I sure that it's our football identity? And I said, I'm saying it's our football identity because you take any South African player on a video, crop that out, like edit that, Photoshop it, put him in what's the stadium say, Man United, the team
Old Trafford.
Old Trafford. And just make him do the same thing. Instantaneously, you'll be able to tell that this guy Rumjita is from South Africa. You can tell, not even just Africa, South Africa. You can tell a South African footballer.
Instantly.
Like Estradi. And that should say that's identity. I don't think that's anything that screams identity more than that. So technically I think let's take that, infuse it with the European model, yes, because it's working. But let's make the two work.
And not lose our own essence, our own identity.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes. And by the way, sorry, I don't know if I can take over this thing.
Go for it.
Somebody made me aware of an interesting fact. I'm still yet to verify it. They said, look, there's no foreign coach that won the World Cup, and the penny dropped. And I looked at them, I was like, France won with Deschamps, German, with Lowe. And you look at it now, I wasn't born then. England, they claim to have won the World Cup. Probably they say they won with an English coach, but Brazil won with Pereira, so it kind of shows you that, oh, okay, so this thing now outsourced, we're just doing it because we've been told we look good.
But if we can bring our own, you never know the results that we
can
also produce.
Think about it, the best ratings that we've had as a country, who was the coach?
Shakes.
Perfect. And then we've also had, before that we had Utlive as well. And then you have, top three. Coach Pizzo is a very sore point because I think we didn't give him the chance that he deserved. We never, because we don't believe in our own.
We rushed him out too soon.
That was such a, like, it didn't make sense. That was, I'm sorry, I get so emotional about it because we had this Beyonce of coaches and we never realized it. Only when the Egyptians are appreciating him do we then realize that, hey, this guy is this phenomenal.
And talk about the Egyptians. Roger Dessar is coaching Egypt now, very old.
You see,
but we've never given him an opportunity to coach.
We don't give people an opportunity to coach, and that then we're always good at that because we bring somebody from outside that's bringing a foreign concept, and after bringing a foreign concept, then this guy has to now adopt, and the players have to adopt to a different mindset.
And he's only there for a season.
And I understand. I'm not saying look, man, it should be a joyride for people that are from South Africa and they should have fun. I mean, Molifinseki was winging it. I'm not impressed. I've never been impressed when he was winging it. So we should be critical of ourselves. But as much as we should be critical of ourselves, we shouldn't be shying away from the whole thing of saying, but we are also good. And this is the good things that we do. And we shouldn't be extra critical of ourselves because it's somebody that's local. I've noticed that if it's a local guy. That's
I'm loving the conversation we're having here. It's like we're having our own space.
Yeah.
Now let's talk South African journalists, sportscasters. What do you think are the basics that they need to know about the game?
The journals, the era of BBK and whatnot was great. Was good. These guys were good. They were phenomenal. I feel now the era they restricted a lot. I don't know whether it's because from the league or they're scared of what might happen in the league, but I feel they restricted quite a lot. Maybe they scared. Somebody made a joke the other day and said our journals currently they're chasing accreditations, and it could be, but because remember you wouldn't be chasing accreditation if somebody allowed you to do your job. I mean, getting accreditation is a basic need of a journalist. Like, why would you have a league and not allow people to cover it and critique you and tell you
Exactly.
Like, how are you going to grow?
And that feedback, you use it to grow yourself as well.
The minute when you don't want to be wrong, or when you're scared of being exposed that you're wrong, then you are essentially you're locking yourself in this form that you're never ever going to experience greatness in you.
And sensitizing people because you don't want the truth.
Yes. So, like, I think if we were transparent in our deeds, and I understand with the journalists, man, like, I'm not going to be hard on them because I understand that they find themselves in this position where, they might be trying to bring a story, but they're receiving phone calls from so and so. So it's kind of hard. So that's why I'll never look at the effect. I'll look at the cause.
Sure.
I always look at the
cause
cause, and it takes us back to the administration of the PSL. So that is it.
The problem is bigger. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
I don't want this guy to be the thing is, I don't want this guy to be going through the same frustration as me when he's enjoying his football and I'm gone, I want this guy, like, I'd rather speak about these things because I want this guy to enjoy the best of what South African football could reach, the level it could reach. And
it's got potential to get there.
Yeah, let's not be shy to criticize ourselves, man. Let's, there's a lot of good that they're doing, and there's a lot of
areas of improvement.
Yes, so let's allow, if they allow journalists to be themselves, then we'll
know the truth, we'll see the truth, and we'll be able to really address the issues that come. Now, you guys are doing podcasts. How did you guys start doing podcasts? Hey?
Shout out to Maskepe. Shout out to Sesikolo as well. Shout out to Pro. I'm giving all these shout outs. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Lekoko space. Shout out, Bobo and DC. Shout out to, my family as well. The podcast, Maskepe Matsawani was interviewing us. Shout out to Mpo. And Maskepe Matsawani was interviewing us. As he was interviewing us, he then asked me a question. Remember when I had an interview with Maskepe? Yeah, and then he asked me a question, and he said, look, spaces come and go. Like, we've seen technology come and go. We've seen people that are essentially, like you remember the Instagram live? There was a huge phase during lockdown.
Yes.
So during that lockdown, we had that thing. So he asked the question, he's like, okay, so what's going to happen after this thing dies down? And I was like, at the time I didn't have an answer. And because of that whole notion that I had, that don't be scared to be wrong, because I could have been stuck in that, no, the spaces will never die. We are here to stay.
Don't want to be told.
We will be in it, to win it. But I said, hey, this guy could have a point. Let me actually listen to what he says, And I listened to him and I said, okay, cool. If the spaces die, I want a platform that's going to allow me to reach everybody else without compromising the product. And I'd like to be ready. I'd like to be fail-proof. So let me be ready in terms of failing and prepare something. That's what I thought I had. Initially was a SoundCloud. And I was like, SoundCloud. Then I researched and I found out that, okay, cool, SoundCloud, I'm just wasting my time there. It's not going to have as much reach as possible. It's more musically than it is for podcasts. So then I asked people that were there, shout out Bomobile, it's like, how do you set this thing up? And then, I asked them and I had that chat. And we had that chat. After having that chat, they said, no, if you want a podcast, use this platform and you stream it across all platforms, And so I never ever want to take that for granted.
So you guys are moving into the podcast space. What else can people expect from Uncapped with the
So from Uncapped, we Uncapped, man. I think there's an Uncapped for, like, I'm very prophetic in my names. I don't know how. Maybe it's a gift that I have. But me being Uncapped is literally that. My thoughts are kept. My movement is uncapped. So I never restrict myself in any form or direction. So what's going to move forward? And I feel that I need to say this. There's stuff in the pipeline. People must be on the lookout, digitally and otherwise. And I think it's always needed for growth. Don't stagnate. Don't stay in one place. Be willing to grow. These guys have to appreciate the product. I mean, you guys might find the spaces relevant now, but these people might not. And that's going to be another issue. And we have to think of that. And we have to now try and be ready. So there's a lot that's happening in the pipeline. And I think with me saying that, I need to, Lekoko, that space found me at a time that I was very, very vulnerable, and I need to be grateful for that. And I think I would have done great injustice. There was, yes, a lot of people believed in me, and thank you for that. And a lot of people believed in me on the timeline. But there was this one person that constantly pushed me, and that was constantly reassuring me of myself. And they said, look, you're great at what you're doing, and you're gonna be a star and whatnot. And I still don't believe that I'll be a star, but I think because we had the chat about celebrity and whatnot, yes, I believe that I'll be great at what I'm doing because I take practice every day. But yeah, shout out to this person, and shout out to Surubele, Waikava. So yeah, man, you know, that's one person that really, really, really believed in what it is that I do, and it would be injustice for me to not acknowledge that. Yeah, so shout out.
Appreciate the shout out. I have to ask you, I mean, you're so passionate about soccer, the spaces are growing. Do you think at some point you're going to leave your full-time job?
Between you and I think I have already.
Wow.
So I think between you and I think I have already. I think my full-time job is now turned into my side hustle, and I look at the input. I'm not looking at the output part of it. I always believe the output takes care of itself.
Sure.
I've never been one to chase money, and I've always felt that, okay, cool, do what you love and things will fall in place. And now as I look at things falling in place and taking shape, and I'm grateful. So to answer your question, I think my full-time job is, yes, it's when you look at it in terms of keeping me alive and then putting bread on the table, my full-time job is still that. It's still taking care of me, but time-wise and resources-wise, I think I have
transitioned into the spaces.
Transitioned into,
so for now,
I've transitioned into football in general, not just spaces. So yeah.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful story to really witness and see it unfolding, I must admit. Before I let you go, any last words to the listeners, to viewers about the game of soccer that you'd want to share with them?
The last words. I want to share about the game, but I don't want to I want to share about a life lesson, because mine happens to be linked to the game. Look, we always encourage to play it safe. We always encourage to find a job that pays the bills, pays a lot of money, and this is your advice as well. So I hope you listen. So I say to them, look, Gazi, please promise me you're going to follow your passion. Whatever you do, follow your heart. It knows best. Everything else will follow. Block out the noise. You know what it is that you love. You know what it is that you're good at. And don't listen to the world. I know this is not going to make sense now because you're 6. But yeah, look, there'll be people who are there to support you. And there'll be people who are there to make sure that you reach out your dreams and you reach your full potential. But take risks, man. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We're all born with a talent. So don't be scared to follow yours. It would be great injustice. So yeah, don't play it safe. Nah, you don't want to play it safe. Cool.
Oh my goodness, I had such a lovely conversation with you. I've really enjoyed just learning about how the spaces have come about, so organic and so authentic. And I just wish you guys all of the best to many more spaces of educating people and just empowering people about soccer, and most importantly, having fun, man.
Yeah, having fun. Have fun.
Yes.
Life was meant to be fun. It was never meant to be cooped up somewhere doing things that you don't like, and being miserable and tolerant of things that you never thought you'd be tolerant of because for the sake of it. So yeah, have fun, man. Have fun. Did you have fun? I had fun today. I had fun.
Talking about something that you love.
Yes.
Now, if somebody
With
wants
somebody
to join,
that I love.
with somebody, yes,
Yes.
I love it. So if somebody wants to join the spaces, follow you, where can they find you on social media?
Uncapped Lekoko, that's my Twitter handle. Anything else, any other social media platform, I'm not there. Well, yeah, Uncapped Lekoko is not there. I think I have a TikTok account, but it doesn't have any posts yet. So yeah, I'm still new. So Uncapped Lekoko on Twitter. On our podcast, Uncapped Lekoko. And because it's space, we deal with spaces. What I did. So when you search for Uncapped Lekoko, no spaces there. See what I did.
See what you did there.
So yeah.
Uncapped with Lekoko, follow them on Twitter, and make sure you join the spaces every Tuesday from 8 till 9:30 p.m. You don't want to miss out, and enjoy and have empowering conversations, as well as learn about the game of soccer and have fun. I've had fun interviewing you. Kaho, thank you for coming. High five.
High five.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you tell us, Kaho, where can we find you on Instagram to see all the things you're talking about on soccer?
Random chats with Kaho.
Wow, and that wasn't even broken down. Beautiful. Random chats with Kaho. Watch this beautiful young man and see how much he loves the game.
It's on
How-
Instagram, by the way. Yeah, he's
On
on
Instagram.
Yeah, me, yeah.
So Kaho's on Instagram and Daddy's
I don't
on
have the
Twitter.
face. I don't have the face for. I only have the voice. I don't have the face.
You don't have the face, so you passed it on to your son.
Yeah.
I love it. From us to you, we'll see you next time. Take care. God bless.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.